FMCG sector slowed to 4.3% between August to October, according to a report by Kantar. Volume growth in rural India remains below urban India, where there is a sign of a pickup after 3 quarters of a slowdown. Shilpa is standing by with more details. Shilpa.
Well, here's yet another report that is suggesting that there is a slowdown in the FMCG sector overall. Now, Kantar, in its quarterly FMCG pulse, has said that the growth slowed down to about 4.3% against a 6.4% in the same period in the last quarter. And it's also slower than a 4.5% growth that was seen in the quarter that went by. Let me just clarify here that Kantar has taken an August to October quarter here in its report, where it's the period in which it's measuring this growth. Now, this report also reflects the urban slowdown that everyone's been talking about. In fact, urban saw about a 4.5% volume growth. This is versus nearly 7% growth that it saw in the same period last year. Now, Kantar says that, on the face of it, this definitely looks like a slowdown, and the slowing of growth in this momentum is extremely rare. In fact, it says that over the last 5 years, this has only happened in the quarters of 2024 so far. And the reason for this is, rising prices. Inflation is pinching the pockets of urban consumers as well. Look at the data that it has put out. Shoppers have paid 133 rupees per kg of FMCG goods on an average in the past quarter, but this has risen to about 137 rupees per kg of FMCG goods that consumers had to pay for in urban India in the August to October quarter. And Kantar says that this kind of growth in a single consecutive quarter was only seen in the initial months of 2022, where we had seen very high inflation levels. Now, per household average quarterly spend also has grown 13% for consumers in the last 2 years, and it now stands at about 6,761 rupees. In fact, this had crossed the 6,000 levels for the first time only in the quarter of, in the October quarter of 2022. So as you can see, that the rising prices is what really causing the slowdown, and they say that this is reflective of the CFPI that we saw for October 2024, which was about 11.1%, and with no signs of inflation relenting in the immediate future, Kantar says that it is hard to expect urban to grow any faster than what it is growing currently, and it expects similar growth levels for the first half of 2025 as well. If you look at rural, in fact, rural also, Kantar says, is actually underperforming. It grew 4% in volumes, which is actually slower than the 4.5% growth that urban has seen, and this is led by atta. Why atta? Because atta is actually a high volume and frequently purchased category in rural, and a lot of it tends to come in free grains. So even including atta, if the growth is slower than urban, that reflects some sort of a slowdown. However, there is some optimism that Kantar is seeing in rural because of the government focus, and that the agriculture industry is expected to grow, and with the government focus, they expect a growth to pick up and see a sustainable growth levels for rural in the coming year as well. But as things stand now, they definitely are pointing out to a slowdown due to rising prices. Back to you.
All right, Shilpa, many thanks for joining us. Now, US President-elect